Hey everyone, it's Mon again. I am super honored and privileged to be here with you again at VGM Together. As you probably know, I performed here last night, which is something I've been aspiring to do since I ever heard about this event. And now I'm going to be your professor for the next 50 minutes or so, teaching you about how you can make Reaper and OBS come together like chocolate and peanut butter. So before we really get into things, there's going to be some technical stuff coming later, but I'm going to kind of maybe do a little bit of a preamble. And yeah, hey everybody in the chat, I see you. By the way, if there are questions, feel free to throw them at me. I do have a chat window off to the side. I will be in the Discord for Q&A afterward. So I will do my best to answer questions in real time and to stay within the time limit. Okay, we got some attentive audience chat members. Cool. Okay, so let's start with a clip. This is from my performance last night, and it's about 30 seconds, and I'll show you exactly what we're going to be talking about. So give me a second to switch right over here.
Just make it blow up. This song will cure what ails you.
Okay, so let's just quickly talk about what's going on here. So first you see this camera pointing up at me. This is basically my talkback camera, so I can talk to the audience in between songs. And when the song actually plays, we switch to some pre-recorded game footage. And then there's a slow, like 4-second fade in, or a crossfade to me actually playing the song. And then when I hit that last note, everything just goes black. And then beyond this clip, as soon as the song like restarts, then everything comes back. So yeah, the way it just kind of blanks out like that is really just for dramatic effect, pretty much. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I did all that. There is nobody in this room except for me. That was all pre-programmed. And hopefully by the time we're done here, you'll have an understanding of how to do it all. And you're basically a one-person production crew at that point. So yes, I saw it's like, what if you're allergic to peanut butter or chocolate? What about chicken nuggets dipped in barbecue sauce or honey mustard? I think we can extrapolate that a little bit. Okay, so I just did the video demo. We'll keep moving. Okay, a little bit about me. My actual name is Mark. So anybody, you can call me either one. I am a self-proclaimed world okayest guitar player, Beavis and Butthead fan, and cat lover. I won a Best Album Award for my Bloodborne concept album. I'm just going to keep parroting that until at least until the end of the year, when there'll be a new set of winners at the Video Game Remix Music Awards next year at VGMCon. But in the past year, I'm coming up on 1 year of actually performing as a VGM artist. My very first performance was with Bonus Stage Ultimate. And by the way, in case you don't know, and I'm probably going to mention this again later, applications are open for Bonus Stage Ultimate 3. I forget how Josh actually pronounces the third Bonus Stage Ultimate. But applications are open. He's looking for acts just like he was around the same time last year. And I played at VGMCon. I played at Magstock. I had the awesome opportunity to play with Viking Guitar Live at BitGen this year. I just had I had a show on Friday night at MEP Technologies in Baltimore with Quicksave and a few other bands. It was awesome. And then I played at VGM together. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. So anyway, to kind of continue the philosophizing a little bit, let's just talk a little bit about pros and cons of performing in front of audiences and performing virtually. I mean, looking at this picture, like there's really no experience or like level of energy that can really be matched versus playing in front of a live audience instead of like playing in a studio just like this where you could potentially be all by yourself. And so yeah, that's something you're just never going to get to. But then on the other hand, there's like actually getting all your stuff on stage, lugging it around, the logistics of actually getting to your venue. You could have like you could end up at a venue where the sound just isn't right, and there's so many more variables that could be out of your control in a live performance. But I think most people make it work, and now I think we'll move on here a little bit. So, and I think it's definitely worth mentioning that the playing virtual shows is still a really viable way to reach an audience, and I mean that's how I got started. And these are the three that I know of that are ongoing regularly, and of course, VGM Together is there in the lower right. So yes, I've mentioned Bonus Stage again. Their next Ultimate event is coming up next month. Their applications are open. And by the way, all these slides that you're seeing, I'm gonna put them in the Discord after this, so you have all of them. You're gonna need this anyway because there's links to a whole bunch to some software that you need to make all this tech work. And then last but not least, Virtua Ongaku. I definitely have to mention them. Warward's is an awesome dude, and he usually has something going on every month as well. So, yes, okay. I think maybe people were wondering if I was going to share the slides. Yes, I will share the slides. Don't worry about that. Okay, so we're pondering on our DAWs right now. So yes, I'm talking about Reaper and I'm talking about OBS. So there is I'm not saying you have to use Reaper. It tends to be, I think, a pretty popular choice, not just in VGM, but among audio engineers in general, because it's very full-featured and it's inexpensive. It's $60. That's not a monthly or a yearly subscription. That's it. That's all you own a license for $60. It's relatively easy to use. It's very lightweight. It's like less than 20 megs if you download it. And even if you use the evaluation version, which is for 60 days, it's still full featured. So it's not like there's certain features that you're completely locked out of during that time. And it does simple video processing. So I would not recommend using Reaper for video editing or video production. That's not really what it's built for anyway. But it gets the job done if you want to incorporate visuals in some way into your performance. And in that clip that I showed at the very beginning where I showed like the Dr. Mario title screen, that's coming right out of Reaper. And I'm eventually going to show you how he did all that stuff. Okay, so I'm trying to keep my meme game going, but I think even though these are two distinct pieces of software, they go really well together. And how we actually stitch them together, and I know I'm kind of blocking stuff here, so I'll move myself to the lower right just for now. Whoops, went a little too fast there. So I mentioned, I was talking about other DAWs, like you can use Logic, Pro Tools, whatever you prefer, and as long as your DAW supports it supports MIDI and supports plugins and automation, you're good. So if you're not using Reaper, I think you can make all this work. I just may not be able to get into certain specifics of like certain features of like, how do I do this or that in Logic? Like I may not necessarily know off the top of my head. So I'm not saying if you're not using Reaper, you need to jump ship. However, my guess is you are probably not using anything other than OBS. OBS is an amazing piece of software. I used to stream on Twitch regularly, and then I couldn't keep up with it anymore. But in the 5 years in that gap from when I stopped and I started like kind of doing VGM stuff, so many more features were added to OBS. So it's actively improved and maintained. It supports VSTs, which is super important, which I'm going to get into later. And it's got plugins. They're kind of third-party community open source plugins, which are not official, but you are going to need at least one of those to do everything that I'm talking about. I'm waiting to hear why this stuff won't work on a Mac. Actually, Allison, that's a good point. I can't think of one. I think you can make all this work on a Mac. It's really about the software more than the operating system. So I haven't had anybody bring that up. So I think we're okay. Last but not least, it's free. And yes, there's other pieces of streaming software out there like XSplit, but as far as I know, XSplit doesn't support MIDI in any way. And there's like out of the box, like you might get some streaming software that comes with your capture card, but it just can't do all this stuff. So use OBS if you aren't already, and I think most people are probably using it. Okay, what do you need in terms of hardware? So chances are, if you're a performing musician, you already have an audio interface or a mixer. So, and I'll just use this. I'll just show this really quick. So the actual audio interface that I'm using is, I can't show it to you because it's right there. But like, here's another one. This is the one I use, if I'm on the road, and hopefully that we can get the camera to focus on it a little bit. Come on, camera, you can do it. It's not cooperating. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this is just a Focusrite 4i4. It's got 4 channels. A 2-channel one could probably do it. It doesn't need to be super sophisticated. And it won't focus right. Okay, that I wouldn't have come up with that pun. That's a good one. So that if you have a mixer that you can use to just plug into USB into your computer, I mean that should work too. You just need some way to get analog signals from whatever instrument you play, and of course, I'm a guitarist. But whatever you play, as long as you've got some way to get it into your PC and to have your DAW be able to hear it, then you're good to go. Okay, software. So there's quite a bit of a list here. Again, I will share the slides in the Discord because these are all hyperlinks. It'll take you to every single one of these. Use Reaper or your DAW. Use OBS. One very, very important thing I have to mention is when I first put together this material, it was before OBS 28 came out, which I don't know the technical details, but something with OBS 28 changed the way certain plugins worked, so it broke the MIDI plugin that I always used. Luckily, somebody out there created another MIDI plugin that is compatible with OBS 28. I'm not a huge fan of the user interface, but it works. And I think that's all you need. And don't worry, I will show you all that stuff. You will need the Replugs VST plugin. So again, if you're not using Reaper, you can still get the Reaper plugins. You just go to that website, and this is all hyperlinked, and download them. You will need one plugin in particular, which is Restream, and I will show you that as I start doing all the tech stuff. That Loop BE1 virtual MIDI driver, you don't need that one necessarily. You can use any virtual MIDI cable, really, but that's just the one I happen to use, and it's great. The SWS extensions for Reaper, optional but recommended. I'll show you what that's for. Hopefully, as I go through the Reaper project, it'll jog my memory, and I can show you why I recommend that. And I'm a little behind on chat, so I'm just gonna scroll up a little bit. Okay, cool. All right, I think we're good. Can we see the slide view again for the list? Which list? Can you help? I'll keep going, and then when you answer that question, then I can come back to that. Okay, so let's. Determination. Of course, it does take time to set this up. So it's as long as you're willing to kind of put the time in, you'll have, in my opinion, you'll have something that is pretty high quality and seamless, and it makes things more integrated so that it's less to think about later. Oh, I thought you were reading from your slide deck. I can only see your face, and that is my fault. I apologize. There we go. Okay, yes. So I'll just quickly go over this because, and thank you for calling that out. I will quickly go over this. Yeah, you need Reaper, OBS, the MIDI plugin, the VST plugins, the virtual MIDI driver, and the SWS extensions for Reaper. Hopefully I remember to kind of switch between all this stuff as I go forward, but feel free to call me out if I'm missing something. Okay, here's a diagram, and let me take myself out of the view here. Here's a diagram of how I hook up stuff. The lights, I will not have time to show you all the details about how you can operate lights, DMX lights specifically. I can give you a very high-level overview, but don't worry. If you have questions about how to do lighting setup more specifically, I actually have a YouTube video on that. So I can put that in the Discord as well. So anyway, what you got your PC, you've got some cameras hooked up to it. In my case, I have 3, and actually, I think this might be a good time to kind of, hopefully I remember to switch back to the slides. So this is my main camera, which is pointing at me right now. But over here, okay, that actually focused pretty good. So there's actually I have 2 webcams. Well, there's one right there, and there's one up there. So that's the vocal talkback mic, and that is like a side camera that I use to focus on, like if I'm doing solos or something like that, and I want to zoom in on my guitar, like my actual guitar playing. That's what that camera's for. And then that's just the vocal talkback mic. And okay, and yep, okay, just making sure I'm still current on chat. And so those are the cameras. And again, I'm using 3. You can use 5, 10, 2, or 1. I like to do the camera switching. I think it's pretty slick. So then you've got Reaper and OBS. What really glues these together are that MIDI plugin that I mentioned and the Restream plugin. And I will start talking about that, I think, very soon. Then you got your audio interface or mixer. That's got to have some kind of MIDI hardware MIDI output that goes to your DMX controller. And this actually reminds me, when I saw Lacey Johnson's set last night, she was using fog machines, which you can control with DMX, and I'm like, I gotta get me some fog machines. But then I remember Audio Mocha saying that might set off smoke alarms in your house, and I have a smoke alarm in this studio, so I might need to think about that one a little bit. Okay, I'm getting off track. Let's keep moving. Okay, now we get to the tech stuff. And yep, I did forget to. I forgot to switch scenes again, but this is what I had up there before, so, yeah, sorry about that. Oh, hey, Viking Guitar, thanks for coming in, and, we are ready for the demo. And, yeah, I think that, since Viking Guitar is here, I'm gonna mention that, a lot of what I'm about to show you was, and let me put my face back up here, a lot of what I'm about to show you, is something that he did originally. I just kind of built on top of it, so, like, he gets quite a bit of credit for putting some of the original ideas of this together. It's more than just camera switching and light control. It's just through automation of your DAW, and of course we're using Reaper here. You can switch instrument effects. You can switch between different channels of your amp simulators, for example. Like automation is super, super, super powerful. And that's kind of what really drives a lot of how things happen without you needing to touch anything. Like, that's how you pre-program all this stuff. Okay, yeah, thanks, Eric. Okay, let's talk about what we're looking at. This is probably pretty daunting. But like I said, if you're willing to put the time in for something like this, like I think it's pretty great. However, you don't need to go as far as I did. I think if you want to just do the basics of, like, getting scene control and just kind of just bringing all your backing tracks in, you don't have to go as far as I did. Consider me daunted. So yeah, I'm gonna drill down in here a little bit and hopefully make this less daunting. So the first thing I'm going to mention. Oh, and by the way, more gifts for everybody that are here. In the YouTube video where I talk about DMX lights, I do have a sample Reaper project that is linked from the description of that video. It's a way more bare bones version of what you're seeing on the screen, but at least you can download it and look at it and have something referenceable more than just what you're seeing on this video. Daunted. Okay, this is Pun Town. I'm loving all the puns here. Okay, so, and I'm just gonna do a quick time check. We're still doing good. And all right, the first thing I'm gonna mention is, oh, and by the way, this project that you're looking at is exactly what I used last night. This is the exact project that I ran for my performance last night. So this is not like, some smoke and mirrors type thing. This is it. And the first thing I'm going to mention is what you see right up here at the top. So the kind of the whitish gray areas are called regions. So to create a region in Reaper, you just kind of drag drop here, right click, and I'm looking for it, and I can't find. Oh, there it is. Create region from selection. So basically, like, if you have an entire section of a backing track, light control, scene control, automation lanes, you just do exactly what I just did. Especially curious to see how you do MIDI to lighting controller. I should be able to cover that. Not in super granular detail, but I should be able to cover that point. So Nick Mad Science, if I forget to do that, like, feel free to call me out before my 50 minutes is up. So anyway, the regions, I got sidetracked. The regions here. So what's powerful about regions is, let's say I need to reorder. I want to reorder my songs. Like for example, I want to play Aquatic Ambience before I play Bloodstar Beast. Like I changed my mind somewhere. I just move this over, and that moves all the markers, all the backing track, the automation. It just all comes over with it. So that makes life a lot easier. What I really need to do is just create one master project that has like every single song that I usually play live, and then I could just move stuff around. The initial time to set this up takes quite a while, but I'd say once you're there and you kind of get used to how things are organized, then it gets much easier after that. So it's like one of those things where you put the time in the beginning, and then you kind of get the return later. So let's drill down on something specific. I mentioned Aquatic Ambience. Let's play this one, or we'll drill down into this one. So we have scene control, light control, cues, click. I'll go through all of these. So scene control is to change scenes in OBS, and don't worry, I will come back to these a little bit later and explain how they all work. I'm just going to go over these. One by one at a high level. Light control is to send MIDI signals to your DMX controller, which I'll show the DMX controller later, to change scenes. And yeah, my DMX lights are actually on right now, but I'll show you how that works later. Cues and click. So the cues track is completely optional. If you're playing to a backing track and like there's no percussion, then there's going to be certain times where you want to try to stay in sync with the backing track in some way. So a click track or some kind of cue or something to just keep you in sync with your backing track is really needed. But then you might ask yourself, how do I keep the audience from not hearing the click track? So that's a trick I'm going to come back and show you. But that's what those two tracks are for, really. Then I have this folder track. It's just called main bus or front of house, which, you know, there's really no front of house here. It's all virtual. But what I do from there is I group everything else that is to the right or below under that one track. And that is for the Restream plugin. So I will come back to that too. The videos track is for, obviously, videos. So I do have my videos here, and it's actually off on another monitor, so I'm going to drag it over. Okay, so there's... this is the video that I use for Aquatic Ambience. I don't think I actually used this in the set last night. It's just there, but I'll just play it really quick. Okay, so you get the idea. And I'm going to just move him out of the way for now. Like I said, you can do simple video processing in Reaper. So if I'm going to zoom, pan, crop, you can do all that within Reaper itself. I'm glad Eric is here because he can definitely add to this conversation. Like he's definitely he's a pro power user of Reaper, and he taught me a lot, obviously. Backing tracks, that should be pretty self-explanatory. So either you've mixed these yourself, or you've had somebody mix them for you. But I mean, if you're performing without a band, you're gonna have backing tracks of some sort. Yeah, okay. This is the bass track that I separated out. I don't need to go into that. I have the bass taken out of my backing tracks. And then we get to all the instruments. So then it kind of drills down even farther. Like this entire aux bus is all of my effects. So reverb, chorus, delay, really long delays. Like if I'm like hitting the last note of a solo or something, that's for all that. And then we get to the actual instrument. So again, this is going to vary depending. This is going to vary depending on what instruments you play. But I will obviously speak in the context of guitar here. Mon here is going to make my DDR pad camera switch. I don't know. I'm actually kind of jealous of that setup. It's pretty good. So the trick here too with your instruments, at least in this setup, is to make sure the recording is turned on for all of them. So I have a folder here of guitars, and then I have rhythm guitar, lead guitar, clean guitar, and then to control which one of these is active at any given time, I just use automation. So here, this is the mute lane of the clean guitar. So here, like in this entire section, there's no clean guitar playing, and here, there's some lead guitar playing in this section, and then it gets muted. So there's probably like some rhythm guitar that switches. So yeah, I'm not gonna demonstrate how this works in real time exactly. Oh, or maybe I will actually. I might be able to do that. Let me see. Okay, so well, actually, you just you just saw the camera switch to off to the side there because that's what this Reaper project is programmed to do. But basically, during that section, it's a lead section, so then the lead guitar gets activated, and then after that, it gets into this like really grindy rhythm section. So that's you basically use this automation. You could use volume. Here, I'm just using the mute to just turn stuff on and off. On the actual tracks themselves are my amp sims, and again, this is going to vary depending on what you use. But I've grown to love this Archetype Pertucci amp simulator. So that's a rhythm amp sim, and then for lead guitar, it's the same exact simulator. It's just I think it's just different settings. Depending on taste, and then the truth is I'm using the same exact amp sim for rhythm, clean, and lead, but it's just different. It's just different channels or different settings within the amp sim itself. So, okay, next, now I think we'll talk about Restream. So, I will try to remember to come back to the certain topics that I parked as I started walking through this. So Restream is like really what makes the magic happen, because when you're playing audio out of Reaper, it doesn't just go into OBS. Like, it doesn't get streamed through your desktop. So you need some kind of way to get all that audio communicated from Reaper to OBS. So Restream is the plugin that does that. This is a very, very simple plugin. All you have to do on the Reaper side is tell the plugin where you want the audio to be streamed. And in this case, it's just basically to itself, to local broadcast, which is like a loopback. Within OBS, you will set up an audio input source with the Restream plugin on it, which receives the audio. So I'm gonna come to that when I get to the OBS section. Now, here's that trick I was talking about with the click track. So let me go to a section where... Okay, right here. So here's the section of aquatic ambience. There's really no percussion going on here. So if I'm playing the clean guitar part that's part of this, I'll use the click track to stay in sync. So on my end, like through my headphones, I can hear the click track because it's just coming right out of Reaper. But the stream can't hear it because I'm using Restream on this folder or this bus only. So anything to the right of to this or under this folder actually gets sent to OBS. Anything above it, the stream cannot hear. So if you actually want to hear this, and I'm only just going to do this for demonstration purposes, you wouldn't actually do this during a live performance. Like, I can't think of a reason why. Is I'll mute this Restream plugin and I'll turn this one on, which is basically kind of at the top level, which includes everything on here. So when I play this again, and the chat will probably have to just verify this, you should be able to hear the click track. Yeah, so this is... I would normally be playing... Wait, is this gonna work?
Two, one.
And you can hear some audio cues in there too. Yeah, and you can see that the camera switched again automatically because that's... I'll get to the scene switching eventually. Okay, cool. Thanks everybody for verifying that. So, but let's turn that off, and let me make sure I switch back. I gotta make sure I keep switching back here. There we go. So now I've put it back to the way it originally was. So now you can't hear the click. As you probably heard or saw as we were going through the song, my tone switched from that intro clean guitar to lead guitar, and that's all done through the automation. My son was dancing to well, hopefully he headbangs to it, because my version's pretty heavy, at least in my opinion. So anyway, next I think we're ready to start talking about. I'm just quickly scanning all the tracks here. I think we're ready to start talking about what happens on the OBS side. So this is going to get slightly awkward because I'm using OBS to stream this, but I need to show you what's happening in OBS. So what I'll do is I'll move him over, and I'm going to bring OBS over here. And I'm just trying to get Windows to snap here. There we go. And then we'll use... Okay. So I'm also just looking at the stream just to make sure this is actually coming through correctly on the other side. So now we have this OBSception thing happening right now, which I'm sure is kind of awkward, but it's really the only way I can show you how this works. I'm gonna take my face off here, and because we don't need that right now. Okay, it looks correct. It looks correct on the stream side. Okay, so let's come back to Restream. What you will do in every single scene that you're going to set up for something like this is to set up an audio input capture. I already have it set up here, but if I were to do this from scratch, I would say add audio input capture. I would call it Reaper, but it already exists, so I can't create another one. So once I actually create that, then there's really nothing here except for what device you want. This could be anything. It's just you can put anything there. It's just kind of a dummy. But the most important thing is that you go to the filters of this audio input capture, and you put the Restream plugin on here. So at this point, I'm assuming that you would have already installed all those VST plugins, which I had on that slide, with the list of all the software on it. So I would go here, say, I'll just put Restream 2 just to demonstrate, but, I already have this set up. So then you have to go pick what plugin you want. I have a bunch of other plugins here, which I'm just going to ignore it and just scroll past. But you should have an entire section of plugins here that are called like re-something dash standalone. So... the other thing that's powerful about this too is like if you want the compressor out of Reaper or the EQ out of Reaper, the gate out of Reaper, you can use those too. But in this case, we only care about Restream. So I'm gonna get rid of this because we already have the Restream plugin set up here. And when I hit Open Plugin Interface, I actually don't have to touch this. So VST choice judgment time. Yeah, I'm sure you saw some stuff on that. You were like, ooh, he uses that. Okay, so all you have to do is just set it to receive, which I don't think you have to really do anything. So that's the secret sauce that gets the audio out of Reaper into OBS. The one thing I want to mention, I think I already mentioned this, but I'm going to say it again because it's super important, is you have to make sure you put that audio input capture of Reaper in every single scene that you're going to be using for your performance. Because, for example, like let's say I have this scene, and then I want to switch to the side cam, and so you can see here I have that Reaper audio input capture set up right there, and then I switch to the side camera. You can see that it's still there. If you forget to add it, when the scene changes, the audio is going to get lost. So, and that'll be super super awkward. So, we obviously don't want that. Okay. Now I think we can talk about... Let's talk about the MIDI stuff. I'm going to stay in OBS, and then I'll hop back to Reaper. Let's go to... I think we can start here. Yeah, maybe not necessarily. Actually, let's just go to Tools. We'll go to Tools. You should have already installed this OBS MIDI MG plugin, which was in the list of software that I showed before. Let me see what fun thing about Restream that I only recently realized: the text in the description box of Restream has to be identical between both. Okay, that I did not know. So that's a good pro tip there. Thanks, Eric. Okay, so in this setup, it'll show you a list of all of the MIDI devices that are installed on your machine. You should have this in your list because you would have presumably already installed it. If you would have installed all that software in that list on the slide, then you should already have this. The device should be active. I can't remember off the top like the first time you have to actually click this button to activate it, but just make sure that it's active. This is where I'm not a fan of the user interface, but it gets the job done, so I'm not too worried about it. So next we need to edit input bindings. Let's look at the side cam. So you can see here that I have bindings for, and I've described them in some way to try to make them obvious of what they are. So the main cam is the camera that's looking straight at me. The solo cam is that side camera that's looking at the guitar. The vocal cam is the talkback mic. I have some other actions here to change the fade times. So like if I want to fade, I want to set the fade time to transition of 300 seconds or 300 milliseconds. I've got that. And then set fade to 4 seconds. You've got that. And you can't see the desktop. I am really sorry. Because, all right. Okay, you see my game wall. Let me go back here again. Yeah, you should be able to. Yeah, there. You should be able to see it now. Okay, so where I was in here in this OBS MG setup, and then here's that Loop B internal MIDI, which you should have already installed. Edit input bindings, and then there's all those actions again that I was talking about when Audio Mocha correctly called me out. So anyway, yeah. Based on what you see here, they're kind of mapped to actions, so you can look at them and kind of understand what they are. So I have this one to change the scene to the main camera, the vocal camera, the solo camera, change fade times. If I want like a quick cut, I can do that. So let's do the one for the solo cam. And then you need to do two things. You need a message and you need an action. So for the message, I hit edit messages, and then it's really just one thing. This is where you actually say, this is the MIDI note that I want to do the action that I'm about to define. So in this case, it's on channel 1, note 1. And you just control this with just using the buttons here left and right. You can use the listen function, but I don't think that's necessary. It's just easier just to program it manually. I'm going to show you what this looks like on the Reaper side when I'm done with this. So if I hit return, then I'm back here. Then I go to actions. Okay, so when note number 1 in MIDI comes into OBS through that virtual Loop BE device, what do I do? So we've got the actions, and you can see here that you can do quite a bit. For the topic of this discussion, like all we're really focused on is probably just scene switching and maybe changing some transition times and stuff like that. But you can see you can do a whole bunch of stuff. But all I care about is scene switching, and then I pick the scene that I actually want to switch to. So in this case, your scenes should already be predefined. You know, have your cameras already set up, have your layouts already set up. Like, you know, whatever you need, that should already be there. So in this case, when that message happens, again, it's note 1. Then I will switch the scene to the side camera. Now I'm going to show you how this actually looks inside Reaper, and I might need to move some stuff. Let's see where we are here. I think it's right here. Yeah, okay, so that actually just happened right there. Let me remember to switch back. On this scene control lane right here is a MIDI item. And my guitar is... Let me mute my guitar there. Okay, and I will... There we go. So this is just MIDI, and you can see that it's note number 1, and it's put right there in this section where I start playing lead guitar. So as you saw, I'll play it again, but I'll go back a little bit farther so you can kind of see what's happening. But you'll see. So right now, obviously, you can see my desktop with Reaper and OBS next to each other. But you're going to see the scene switch again. You're also going to see the lights change, I think, too. And I'll come back to the light control stuff. But I'll just hit play here. Yeah, so it switched to that side camera, and it changed the lights from basically nothing to blue. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention, which is also important, and let me go back here, is you have to inside this lane, you have to define a MIDI output. So we have the scene control track, and on your outputs, you need to make sure you pick that Loop B internal MIDI. Like, make sure you've picked that, because that's going to be your send. So that sends the MIDI signal, and then it's going to get received by the MIDI MG plugin in OBS, which I showed you. Oh yeah, there were, Allison, you asked, can I get Restream on Mac? I am almost certain, and I think, yeah, and Eric is right. I am almost certain you can get the Restream plugins for Mac. I am pretty sure. That may be something. If I can remember to come back to it, I can double check in the when we do Q&A. Okay, but yes, let me just reiterate that. Like, make sure on your scene control track where you're gonna have all your MIDI. Make sure that you have that loop B internal MIDI set as your output. And I'm going to show you some other examples here. Let me see. What was I looking at recently? Oh, yeah. Let me look at... here's Bloodstarved Beast. And I think I have something going on here. Yeah, that's the side camera again. There we go. Okay, so notice that you're seeing some pre-recorded video come in, and I know you can't see Reaper right now. But what you can do is I have another monitor with the Reaper video window on it, and I just have it full screened. And then I just have inside my Reaper video window scene, I just show whatever's on that screen. So what is actually happening here, and let me switch back to the main display. In my scene control MIDI, let me see. I think what this does, and let me go back here. This is message or note 12. That I think that may be the signal to change the fade time to something slow, like 4 seconds, and then it switches to that video window. So I'll play this section again just to kind of give you another idea of how you can use all this stuff. Okay, so yeah, what is actually happening there was it switched to the video. Let me switch back to Reaper. It switched to the video, the Reaper video window with like that scene from Bloodborne with all the candles in it, and then it does a quick cut to. So yeah, there's actually 2 messages here. There's this one, which I believe 51 is to change the transition to a cut, which is like a super fast transition, like no fade time at all. And then then 0, message 0 is to go to the main camera. Okay, so I think we're still good on time, and I should have an opportunity to show you a little bit about the lighting. So I'm going to hop out of OBS and Reaper for a little bit and come back to here. So I'm going to move OBS over there, and we'll come back to that. Okay, so let's talk about the lighting. So what we have going on behind me, and I can move stuff around. I have 2 lights there. The one of them you can't see too well, but there's 2 lights there, and then I've got 2 lights over there. So there's that one, and then there's one right there, which is a little harder to see because it's towards the back a little bit. You can use however many lights you want. You can use different types of lights. I have 2 moving headlights and just 2 static fixtures. Again, when I saw Lacey Johnson using a fog machine, that got some ideas turning in my head. So anyway, those are the lights, and what you need is to control those lights is a DMX controller. So this, I should be able to show it. It looks like this. It almost kind of looks like, let me move this out of the way there. It looks like a mixing board, and I know it's upside down because I can't quite turn it around with I don't have enough slack in the cables here. But this is a DMX operator. I won't have time to go into detail on how to set up scenes and stuff like that. But again, I do have a video on this, so I'll share that in the Discord. Okay, so there was the question earlier about how do you actually get the light signals from Reaper into your DMX lights. So there's more than one way to do that, but the way I do it is with this controller, and hopefully we can get some focusing here. Come on, friend. We're looking for this guy, and there it goes. All right, there is there's the MIDI cable that's coming out of the back of my audio interface and coming into the DMX controller. This is a DMX cable which just goes out to the lights, and you just daisy chain them all together. So that you need a hardware MIDI cable to get this to work. And you know, I'm just using this for illustration purposes. So your audio interface should likely have a MIDI in and a MIDI out. So you would just take that MIDI cable, plug it into out of your audio interface, and then plug it in to your DMX controller. And then in Reaper, and let me switch over to there. In Reaper, I have a light control lane. So what this does, and again, just like we did with the scene control lane, you have to set a hardware output. So here is my hardware output, and I just pick the hardware output from, and I'll go ahead and put my face back up here. You just pick the hardware output from whatever your audio interface is. Okay, I'm just catching up on chat a little bit. Okay, cool. I think we're okay. Oh yeah, thanks for coming by, Eric. All right, so how this actually works in practice, and this takes some manual reading, is what you're sending from Reaper on your light control lane. Again, is just MIDI, like not rocket science at all. But then you can see here that I'm sending note 11. So you have to program your DMX controller to basically have a lighting scene set up, and then map it to a note like this. So, and I'm actually just going to drag this note up and down, and you're going to see all the lights change behind me. So that's that scene, and this is 9, and that's some other scene, and I'm just kind of cycling down. I have one that's a strobe. I'll eventually get to it. So that's like a pinkish kind of thing. That's like a pinkish hueish kind of thing, and blue. And there's the strobe, which I love using the strobe for like double kick runs and like big finales and stuff like that. You can have a lot of fun with this stuff. But that at a high level is how you get your actual MIDI signals out from Reaper into your DMX controller. So that you can really push some creative boundaries with this stuff, and I just can't stop talking about that fog machine. So it's like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, what can I do with that thing? And I was like, wait, can I control fans with DMX too? I don't think that exists, but you never know. Maybe they can get that to work somehow. I might be giving away some things that I've been cooking about in my crazy mad scientist brain. Okay, so let me see. I think I covered everything, so I think I will wrap it up. So I have 3 minutes left. So if you have any questions you want to ask me live before I hit time, and then I transition to Q&A in the Discord.
Actually, you're overtime.
Oh, I'm overtime. Okay. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you, everybody, so much for your attention. And I know it's a lot to get through in such a short amount of time, but I'm going to hop into the Q&A. I'll take questions, then I'll share the slides and all the reference material and that kind of stuff. So thank you very much, everybody.